Just stats, Reggie Johnson, Eugene Morton coming to you from the lovely city of Atlanta. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the new NBA here. We have a few guys. We're going to talk about SGA, Luka, and Anthony Edwards, and who is going to be the new face of the league. We came very close to having all three of these guys. Well, no, it would have been impossible because they're all in the West. Isn't that crazy too? We don't even have any
Isn't
guys
that
in the
nuts?
East, man. But this is also the guys that are under 25 and under. So you do have your Jason Tatum's out there, 5 conference finals in 7 years, by the way. He doesn't suck. He's a very good player. And he was in the top 10 MVP. Because I feel like Tatum gets a lot of hate, man. Like Tatum, I don't know why. But there's a lot of Tatum hate out there, and Tatum has just made the conference finals 5 times in 7 years. So I don't know
Yeah.
really. I mean, he's not a bum, so I'm
No.
not taking out the Tatums and the Jokic's of the world, who definitely could have something to say about this face of the league. And we could definitely put Wemby in here too, but I think Wemby is not quite on the level of these guys yet. So
Not
he's kind
there
of on his
yet, but
way, and we know that he will be. He's coming, though. Wemby's coming.
he's knocking on the door. He's on
He's
he's
knocking
on
on
the
the door. Maybe
porch.
next year
He's
we get
knocking
him
on
on
your
the
door.
list here.
Yep.
So let's talk about SGA here first. Looking at a few stats, SGA this year. Look here, 30 points per game, third. Rebounds, 5.5, running that up to 6 for him, 58th. 6 in assists, 19th. And 54% in field goal percentage, 25th there. Let's make the case for Shea being the next face of the league. What are your thoughts on there?
I mean, love him. I mean, just love the guy. And I mean, we know they didn't win the series, but I mean, just it's you love it when a guy comes on the stage and still performs. And it's like, okay,
Right.
he's in the limelight and he's still performed. And you're like if you're OKC and you're a fan of OKC and you're in that city, you don't walk away from that and going, we're like 85 steps from a championship. Like you walk away going, okay, we do ... and we're right there again next year. And part of that was, I mean, a lot of that was SGA. I mean,
Yeah, man.
can't. I don't know. I just was in awe of the guy. I mean, just doesn't live on the 3-point line, which is fine. It's just, I love just the old schoolness of him, like just that old mid-range jumper. Kind of reminds me of just a higher. I mean, no, not the same size or the same position, but like that Carmelo Anthony type player. But just,
Interesting.
but better. I mean, we know we love Carmelo. Just kind of reminds me of that when I was watching him play. I was like, this reminds me a little of
Would you put
Carmelo.
him
But
better than Carmelo already? I think I got to give him a little bit. I
give
got to see more from him before I can
see
put him there.
more. But if I could see this consistency over the next few years, then yes, absolutely.
Okay. I like SGA. Do you feel like he's going to stay in OKC? You feel like he would stay
I mean,
there for years
they
and years and
better.
years?
I
Or
mean, there's no reason why you wouldn't sign him. But again,
well, I know
we
the
thought
team would like to have him, but you know how these superstars are, man. Playing in these small markets, you're in the danger zone. I feel like in these small market teams, you got to do more to keep these guys. I think one of the things that's great about playing in OKC is you have kind of the fandom to yourself. The only thing there is the Sooners for the most part. You got Oklahoma, I think Oklahoma State, but you don't really have to split your fans with a football team or a baseball team.
no.
So you have it all. You have the fandom all to yourself, and you have a great young nucleus. You guys can win. This team can win.
Yeah.
Sometimes you look at teams and you say, I don't know. And we just had a while back ago, we had talked about whether KD, Steph, and LeBron were going to win another championship. And we didn't know with the teams as presently constructed if it was possible. That's not the problem that the Thunder have.
No.
The Thunder
No.
definitely can win a championship with this
Right.
team as long as these kids just come along. They've drafted well.
Yeah.
The front office made some great moves. As long as they kind of come along and progress at the level that you expect them to, then I don't know. I think the sky's the limit. If I got to go 1, 2, 3, he would be third in my ranking here. If I had to go third to be the face of the league in this group of people, because we, like I said, don't discount Jokic, Wemby, or Tatum or any of those other guys. Those guys are great too. They definitely all could be. But in this 25 and under age range that we're talking about now, I would put him third out of these 3 guys. Where would you rank him out of the 3 guys that we're talking about?
Yeah, he's kind of like your if you're going like football, just kind of going. He's kind of like your Eli Manning, right? but better than Eli Manning. I'm just kind of like, if you're thinking of like just Super Bowls kind of wins, he's gonna have to sneak up and win one on you, right? Just because.
Well, he's gonna have to also win a chip. Let's see, all these guys. You can't be the face of the league and not win a chip. And I
Correct.
think maybe that's even why we're gonna put. At least I would say one of the reasons why I'm putting him third is that reason. Is the other guys at least still have that chance. You're gonna have to win a chip to get to being face. You don't get to just get to be the face of the league and never won a chip, right? Like, has that happened before?
No,
Where you could be
no,
face of the NBA and have never won one championship?
No, because even when you had Barkley and Ewing in the same years, you saw Jordan, right? And then
Right. Jordan was the face of the league for sure.
and Shaq and Kobe
Shaq and
was
Kobe kind of took over.
Kobe,
Right.
yeah. I mean, obviously, you obviously your fan base is always going to love you, but yeah, you're right. And then to OKC's credit, like you said, they keep. I mean, the only thing you could probably kind of give them a little, like, why didn't you go out and get a big man? But maybe you're okay with your team and you're gonna go to the big man, kind of, because I mean they were getting killed on the boards during these playoffs against Dallas. So, but yeah, and like what you're saying is like they seem to like each other. Like every interview at the end of the ball games, like those four guys were there with each other and doing interviews with each other. So
23-year-old average age on this team. Incredible, right?
And then say, yeah, nothing wrong with that. No, all of them can play. They draft well. They seem to get those guys. You're like, they don't really have positions, and it's like, oh, of course, OKC drafted this guy. So, I just think amazing how they were like a playing team last year, and now they're one of the top seeds in the playoffs.
Average 30 this year and last year. I think him and MJ, a couple guys do that. And this sky's the limit for this team. I do think the team is close. I think that with each one of these teams, as we're going to discuss, and even being one of these three guys is a testament to your greatness. So even if you are the third guy out of this particular group of three, you're in very, very good company here.
And not bad being number 2 in MVP voting. So
yeah, exactly. Like you're not a bum. You're not a bum,
No.
and the kid's 20. The kid's 25. I think I think he's going to be all right, man.
I think.
All right, so let's take it to my other guy. The guy that breaks my heart every time I have to freaking talk about him as an Atlanta Hawks fan. But we will do so here. Let's talk about Luka.
Okay.
Big chance. So the thing with Luka, there's only be a couple things separating Luka. Let's go over stats for people who are listening and can't see the stats on the screen that we have pulled up here. 34 points average, phenomenal. First, a rebounds 9.2, 15th. Assist 9.8. Let's just go ahead and round that up to 10. Second in assist, and 48.7 on your field goal percentage, 57th. I think that he's seeing that ATL pick. I just for some reason I just saw that round 1 pick 3 ATL. I just saw it and it's throwing me off. I really just want to stop this show, man. I don't know if I can continue doing this, man. Like every time, like why do we have to be up there? Like why does it have to say pick 3 ATL? We obviously didn't take the guy, man. I mean.
Yeah. Well, we did, but we traded him. So that's even the more painful part of it. I mean, you can like save grace and go, well, if there was ever a redraft during this year, number 1, whoever picked was Sacramento, they would have picked him number 1. So let's just put that out there. He wouldn't have made it past the.
No, I think it was DeAndre Ayton because DeAndre Ayton.
Oh, was it?
One. Yeah.
Okay,
it was
right. So
I remember it because we were doing we're gonna get Luka dance when we went through the lottery.
Right.
I was working the lottery and we were ready to get Luka, and I knew that DeAndre Ayton was projected to go first, and I think it was Marvin Bagley that was projected to go second.
Yes.
So we knew that Luka was gonna fall to us, and then this is what happened. But I'm not bitter, man. It is what it is, man. I guess we'll continue to talk about the stats here. We just missed in taking the guy who could be the next face of the league, but it is what it is. I mean, he's got a great chance with Kyrie, with what they've done, with what this team has done. The GMs there deserve an award. That trade this is probably one of the best trade deadline moves I've seen with them getting Gafford and PJ Washington at the trade deadline, and then change their fortunes from a defensive standpoint, from a team standpoint, from a chemistry standpoint. They seem to be playing for each other, playing well. I would put him. I'm gonna put him second
Yeah.
But I'm gonna tell you why I'm gonna put Ant first because I don't use Anthony Edwards, and I'm gonna tell you why. But I'm going to tell you also that statistically speaking, I do think right now, if I had to choose between Luka and Ant, I'm taking Luka right now. Today, I will have to take Luka if it's between Luka and Ant today. But I think he's younger and he's ascending. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Luka's got what 2 or 3 years on Ant.
Yep.
So, Ant still has time to grow into this. Ant defends very well. So he wants to be a two-way player. You know how hard it is to get these kids to defend? They want to be two-way players out there. That's just great what Minnesota's doing. You getting these people out here to actually
And
buy into
shut down
defense is
Murray
incredible.
that second half.
It's crazy, but I have a hard time putting shut down and Murray when a guy had 30 something points. So I do get that it was the second half was not great
Second half.
for Murray. It wasn't great, but it's just so hard to look at the box score later and be like, man, I shut the guy down. He's got like 33 or something. And it's like, all right. But yeah, I do think Luka is better than Anthony Edwards right now. I think the numbers say that because when you look at the MVP voting, Ant wasn't even in the top 3. Luka was at least in the top 3. He was ended up being a distant third from Jokic to SGA to Luka. But still, Luka was in there, so I would still take Luka right now if I had to. I think he's going to be an excellent player and could definitely be the face of the league. I think whoever wins this next chip, because these guys are going face to face right now, right? So whoever wins whoever wins and can go and take that next step, brother, like that next win a chip step, Eugene. If one of these guys take that step, they're going to catapult. They're going to catapult into the face of the league kind of conversation, especially depending on how they go. Let's say these guys maintain their average. Let's say Luka goes through the conference finals and goes to the finals and he's averaging 30 or even getting his season average. Let's say he's averaging 34 and 10. That's going to be amazing. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I mean, it's I agree. The thing with Luka, he's already got his shot established, right? Ant's still working on it. Again, he didn't have a great shooting night. But again, you're talking about the 35 that Jamal put up. I mean, yeah, he scored the majority of those
35 for Jamal?
It was 35, but it was majority of it was in the first half. But it was majority of those points were I think it was 28 in the first half or something like that. It was so it wasn't like, yeah, he scored 35, but it was in a lot of those points in the first half.
I think the only way that you could say that the guy didn't shut him down at that point, he would have had to have 60 points.
Exactly.
He would have had he would have had to have 60 for people to say that he didn't get shut down. If he scored 28 first half.
Yeah.
I feel like he really could have ran into the locker room and said, listen, guys, I've done my part tonight.
I've done it.
You know what I mean?
I've done it.
I've given you what I was supposed to give you today. You know what I mean? You guys, those role players, man, when you look back at the game that kind of got the Timberwolves into the finals, it was Jaden McDaniels getting the 23 points. And the Denver Nuggets role players getting 21 combined.
Don't forget my
21 points.
Naz Reid.
Yeah. So when you got guys like that just showing up, and they can get one role player on Minnesota's team can have more than all of our role players combined, then that was what did Denver in. I don't think Murray or Jokic had to hang their head about that loss. They both did everything that superstar was supposed to do, but the role players, the other guys, as Shaq likes to call them, did not take that ride with them. And when you are getting shut down, you need other guys to make shots. You see what happened with Anthony Edwards? I mean, the same thing happened with there. Ant wasn't having a good game, but his guys stepped up. They stepped up when they had to. Cat went out there, looked amazing. They stepped up when they had to. So that's another reason why I do love these teams. I love Lively, Gafford, Washington on this Dallas team. Kyrie looking like the elder statesman. What a 180 this guy has done. This guy is always been box office. Kyrie's always in box office on the court. We've always discussed his off the court stuff, the distraction, the fact that he up to this point hadn't been the number one option on a championship team, and it seems like he had struggled to get over that. But I feel like he has embraced the leadership role here. He's come in. There's a bunch of young guys here. He's kind of looks like he just looks like the elder statesman out there to me, man. I have a whole new found respect for Kyrie here. And I think that just like he got all the criticism for the things he had done in the past, he needs to get some of the um, uh, some of the praise for turning things
Yes,
around here in Dallas and having them
absolutely.
and leading this team to success.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons why I would definitely have Luka. They're a little more mature team, of course, than OKC. So I would have Luka second here, but I think that if I had to make this choice right now today, I think Luka is better. But I don't think that will continue. I think Anthony Edwards. It's just hard to write a guy off that's 22, man.
Yeah.
The guy's
And just
22
the
years old.
way,
So
yeah, and it's, I mean, you just love the way he plays. I mean, just he's just, I mean, I know the Jordan comps are out there, and I know he doesn't want to talk about it, but
I do not like
it's
those comps, by the way.
the only
And I'm gonna
comp
tell
the
you. I'm gonna
comp
tell
I
you
do,
why. No, go ahead. Go ahead. And I'll tell you after you
okay, yeah,
finish.
the
I'm
the
sorry. I'm
comp
done.
I do like about it is his competitiveness. That is the one thing I do love about him. I mean, I fine. We don't have to talk about the shooting. I mean, because I know we've seen the side by sides pictures, but I just can't remember other than Kobe, obviously LeBron, but just a guy just like, I'm gonna come out on this court, I'm gonna rip your heart out. I just can't remember a guy who does that consistently since Jordan. I just can't remember. I mean, LeBron obviously had those moments, but I just, I mean, Anthony Edwards, he's like, I just love it. He's like, he said he's talking to one of the fans when they were losing to Denver. We'll be back. We'll see you. We'll see you back here. You know, I was like, I love that guy. I love a guy who says that. It's like, we'll be back. You know, I don't know. You go ahead. Tell me what's your issue with that? Well, I mean, not issue with that, but we're just
Well,
the whole Jordan.
the issue with Jordan comparisons, I don't like any Jordan
Yep.
comparisons. The
Mhm.
man has won 6 finals.
True.
Win 3 before you talk about Jordan. That's only getting to 50% of him. Like you don't have. I don't think that's
Fair
unfair
enough.
to say that you should at least
Yeah.
have to do 50%. And in ants, the other people are saying this. This ain't something that these players say. By the way, this is always something that's thrusted on these players, and people are now the kid's 22 years old, and
Right.
people are comparing them to the greatest human beings that's ever laced them up and saying that, oh,
Right.
well, we think you can. And you know what the comparisons come from, in my opinion? I'll tell you why I hate it. I think the comparisons come from his style of play versus the results of play. So your style of
Okay.
play is you're a Skywalker. You play an exciting brand of basketball. You see this happen in football with scrambling quarterbacks. People will inflate how great you are. What makes a person great, like a Lamar Jackson in football, is not just that he scrambles, is that he does a lot of things. He's an accurate passer. He can pick you apart. He does a lot of things. He's a winner,
Yeah.
so that's what makes him so great, not the fact that he just runs around. And I think that's the same thing with a Michael Jordan. And is there so many things that made Michael great? Two-way player. I think Ant's aspiring to be that guy, right? But even Kobe
Absolutely.
had this issue when Kobe was coming up, and he didn't like the fact that people were always comparing him to Jordan, because he was like,
Mhm.
I literally have to go in and compete against like the greatest human being that's ever played the game is who I get compared to. Let the kid maturate, go through mature and go through a maturation process and see if maybe he can be that. I think maybe because he dunks in his style of play and the fact that he talks junk, people like that style. People like the brash, like in your
Love it.
face. Let's talk about the stats though. Let's talk about this a little bit for the people who cannot see on the screen. 26 points, get them on the roundups here. 26 points, 12th on the points, 64th on the rebounds at 5, 35th, tied for 35th on the assist at 5, and 46.1 on the field goal percentage at 87th. Now, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Luka is destroying him in these categories because Luka, I think, is let's just do a quick snapshot just to go back
But
here.
Ant has a better
Let's do
supporting
this.
cast. Let's not forget. Ant has a
26,
much better
12,
supporting cast.
64th, 35th, 87th. 12th, 64th, 35th, 87th. And let's go back to Luka. First, 15th, second, and 57th. Now, I don't mind the whole well, it could be this or it could be that situation, because we go through that a lot in sports, right? And the stats,
Mhm.
even though this is a stats show and I love the stats don't always tell 100% of the picture.
True.
However, the stats do tell a pretty clear picture, and this is the picture that people tend to get paid on. They don't get paid on the eye test. When you go into step into and talk to your agent, and your agent is dealing with the team, and the team says, well, what have you done for us? you're not sliding a picture of eyes across the table. You're not going to draw two big eyes on a piece of paper and slide it across the table and say, this is the eye test. And I believe that guy is doing pretty good.
Mhm.
The stats are your production is your production. And I don't think that when we're talking about guys in history, when we bring up the Jordans and the Barkleys and the Kareems and LeBrons and all that stuff, when we do start to bring up their stats, what do we talk about? We talk about their actual stats. We talk about their accomplishments. We don't tend to talk about like, oh, well, LeBron had this person on his team. We don't tend to break it down to the minutia. We just think about these guys just being great and then the numbers that they put up. And I think Anthony Edwards can get there, and that's why I'm giving him. The only reason I'm going to give this to, I will feel like Anthony could be the face of the league, is his style of play is more exciting than Luka's style of play. So I'm going to give him that. But he has work to do, and I can't lie about it. And I can't just be like, well, he dunks, and because he's from the A, I want to give it to him. You already know I do, Eugene, just because of that alone. Just a homer bite. I have not objected when it comes to these Georgia players. I want a finals that consists of Minnesota and the Celtics. So either Jaylen Brown, a guy who went to the same high school I went to, or Anthony Edwards can get a chip. That is exactly what I want to happen, because I want that somebody from the A to get a chip. And that's just, I won't never be objective when it comes to that. So I have to get that out of the way. But at the same time, I can't have the numbers be so far off and then act like he's right there. Luka's literally second in assists. And it's difficult. Luka's almost averaging a triple-double while scoring like over 30 points, about 34 points.
Yeah, but his team finished fifth when Ant's team finished third, which is basically he finished one game behind the top two teams. So I think I agree what you're saying, but Ant.
But you just said that the team has a better player. Didn't you just say that his team had better players? The Dallas Mavericks needed a wild card, great GM move at the trade deadline to even be in contention.
Correct.
I don't even know if these guys were even at 500 at the trade deadline. I have to go back and look at Dallas and see where they were. I don't even know if did we have them making the playoffs? I don't know if we even had Dallas making it this far.
No,
because we thought nobody was going to play defense on that team. So we were like, "Oh, this team's not going to play defense." Minnesota has the same thing about Minnesota in the league.
Right, but Minnesota was a playing team last year, so you can kind of say the same thing about them. Look how fast they ascended from.
I think that Rudy Gobert situation helped them out. Last year it was looking crazy, right? Like people were thinking that that might not have worked out, thinking they might have given up too much. I know they're glad they made that trade now, because I think Rudy's a good corner piece for a team that wants to play defense. And I believe that the Timberwolves, because they do play defense, they're going to be a better team. But I also just think the Timberwolves are a better team, though. I believe that
I agree.
Even though I like Kyrie and Luka, I like Cat, Gobert, and Edwards better. I like them better. I just feel like that's just a better team.
It is.
And if you're getting guys from like Jaden McDaniels who could throw up, Nasri, 6th man of the year, that team is stacked. I really feel like, but I also feel like you put Luka on that team, he's still giving you 30. Luka has proved that in international play, he dominates. Olympic play, he dominates. NBA play, he dominates. It's hard to feel that you can't put him on another team and he's not going to still be a guy that's going to give you 30. It's just hard to imagine it to me, because the guy is dominant. He's only dominated everywhere he's gone. So until I'm not going to become a prisoner of the moment in the fact that I just like seeing people dunk and act like let me see where the far was 2.
Well, let's not forget but you can't take away his defense too. That's the one that he does have on Luka. His defense, he's a better defensive player than Luka is currently. And that's no knock on Luka, but we just know Luka's not a defensive player. That's just he's not what it is, and that's why
I think Anthony Edwards wants to be a two-way player. I think that's going to help him in his quest for like face of the league, right? Like it's going to help. Yeah. Like if you want to play both ends of the floor, you really want to be like Jordan, you're going to have to play both ends of the floor.
Right.
And he's an unselfish player, but it's like it's hard to look at what people have actually done and then try to explain what you feel others will do. Because I can't take away legitimate accomplishments and just say, well, if I look at it this way, then this would happen. Because then we don't really know that. We're kind of saying it, but we don't really know it. But what we do know is that Luka came out here and averaged over 30 and was like, what, second in assist? That's incredible.
Yeah.
Those are incredible
Yeah.
numbers. But it doesn't look as good as Anthony Edwards. So I can see why people would say that. Like Jokic. I think Jokic had the same problem, Eugene, in my opinion. It's not the sexy game, right? If Jokic looked like Dwight Howard out here, which is dunking on folks, I feel like people would respect him more. You know what I mean? Because Dwight Howard's built, how the big guy with the muscles out here dunking. Even if you got the Shaq, you're just out here just dunking and dominating on folks. It's a more exciting game, right? It's kind of like a home run hitter, a guy who just hits a lot of home runs. You might have a guy who steals bases, is a Golden Glove, and does other things. But we want to see the guys who hit the home runs, man. Like, it's just a more exciting game to watch. And I feel like Anthony Edwards' game is what's going to take him over that hump. I do think that he needs to get closer, though, for me. I'm not just going to give it to the guy. I'm a big fan of these guys going out here and earning it. You're going to have to get closer, kid, before I can. I'm not just going to. And I don't think he would put himself over. He didn't put himself over Jokic, even though there's a lot of people who were saying he was better than Jokic. That's not what he was saying. So it's. I believe that he knows that he has to go in and put this work in, and then put the numbers up, and then you're going to get that. You're going to get catapulted to that area. But I do think that there's some work to do. Looking at the stats here, there's some work to do if he's going to be the face of the league, because we didn't even factor in the guys over 25. And we didn't even see what they were doing. We're just talking about the guys in this same age range. And I feel like if we're acting Jokic is really going to be the face of the league. If we're really keeping honest, what 3 to 4 MVPs, could have had a 4th MVP, second in MVP voting last year. There's a chance he would have had 4.
Yeah. Right.
So
it doesn't seem like he cares either. He doesn't seem like he cares about being the face.
I don't even think he likes basketball that much, man. Like, I think he likes it okay. I think it's like, know how we just go to work? I think that's what he's doing. I think Jokic is just going to work, man. I don't even know if he really cares about the game.
Going to work.
Nearly as much as we talk about it. I don't know if he cares about it that much. But I am Anthony Edwards, going to be my number one guy for being the face of the league. However, it is not right now. I still have Luka as being a better player. You can make the argument that Shai is a better player. You really can. You can make the argument that Shai is a better player right now than Anthony Edwards is, but they're also both older. And he has 2 to 3 more seasons to go before he even catches them in age. You know what I mean? So maybe we get to Anthony Edwards and maybe we reevaluate at 25 when he's been in the league 7 years at that point.
That's insane, right? And then
he's been in the league 7 years and he's out there hopefully jumping over folks, dominating. I'm going to need to see those points get up. I need at least, you got to beat LeBron in points, bro. I need to see you around at least 28-ish. I don't know if I need to see you go over 30, but it's still going to be hard if you're still being beat in a lot of different statistical categories. I'm not going to see how you can ever say that you're the best.
But if he wins a championship, it doesn't even matter. I don't think it's gonna. So if he wins a championship, I think that gets washed because who cares?
You think so? You think that he wins a championship? Why? Now he's better than Shai and better than Luka?
I'm not saying he's better, but I'm just saying I don't think those conversations don't matter anymore. I just think if he wins a championship, it's like, oh, then he won it with averaging less points because he's more or less getting his team involved. I'm not saying
his team is a better team though. I mean, you gotta
they are better
guys. Even when you look across the board, let's just talk about the guys that we just talked about. With your supporting cast of Cat, you got the 6th man of the year on your team. We're not even talking about him. So we got the 6th man of the year on your team. You got Cat. Cat's a little all-star. As much as I like Murray, and Jokic was gonna put another feather in his hat of being a guy who wins a championship without playing with another all-star. And that's something people don't talk about, but it needs to be talked about. He's not playing with another all-star on that team. Anthony Edwards is playing with the 6th man of the year, defensive player of the year, and an all-star on his team. So I get where we would say, well, if he wins a championship, we feel like that gets him ahead. I think it gets him closer for sure, because I don't know if you can be faced without a championship. But I do know that your stats need to be closer. I can't have it where one person's ranked 15th and you're ranked 64th. I can't have that. Like, you will need to be closer. I don't need to have you over the person, but I need to have you closer to the person, because then it just doesn't make sense that I would just say that, because then I'm just talking. Right. Whereas you're winning a championship is a team award, so to speak, because your team just matters so much. You saw that way in Denver. Look at what happened. Their 2 superstars had over up 60, 70 points between their 2 superstars. It wasn't enough. No. It wasn't enough, man. When you got Jaden McDaniels giving you 23 and Cat giving you what he's giving you, right?
Right.
So I believe that any of these guys, to me, all these guys, Eugene, and you can tell me if you disagree with this, all these guys to me seem interchangeable from a team perspective. I believe that if you put any of these guys on any of these other teams, they would still dominate the way they dominate. I think you put Shea on Minnesota, you put Shea on Dallas, Shea's going to get his points. I think you put Luka on any of these teams, Luka's going to get his points. And I think you put Ant on the other teams, Ant's going to get his. He's going to go out here and get his points. But maybe there's just more maturation needed for Ant, but I'm rooting for that because, like I said, he plays an exciting form of basketball, right? Jumping out the gym, dunking on folks, shutting folks down, maybe on the defensive end. And it'd be nice to see that. We're going to see the guys go head to head here. So that would be nice, right?
Here we go. And that's going to be, it's going to be
head to head. Maybe these guys go to head for some time from now, right? Because that would be amazing. Because then they'd be battling it out for the face of the league, kind of like if it's just the two back and forth, and they're one of these teams is always going to the Western Conference Finals. Luka's been to 2. That's another thing also. Like Luka's been to 2 Western Conference Finals. How long has he been playing? Like what, 5 years? 5-6 years?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And this year, we didn't even know if he's gonna make the playoffs.
Right.
Their defense would be horrible and it wasn't great, but they made some amazing changes, changed things around for them. So we'll see. So Ant, my number one guy. Is that your number one guy also?
Yeah, it's my number one guy. I mean, it's just, I always go back to the style of basketball. His style, Shea style wins championships. Unfortunately, we have not. I know we've seen guys get to these steps, get to these Western Conference, get these finals, but don't get to the finals. You know, you've had your James Hardens, you've had, you know, Luka.
Do you blame the Hardens? Like, so when you go, it's interesting with James Harden. I think I would blame James Harden more than some of these other guys because James Harden, he played with a lot of guys. James Harden's played with a lot of stars. So it's kind of like erasing any kind of like, and same thing with Kyrie. Kyrie's played with a lot of stars. Some of these guys have lived KD. Some of these guys have lived privileged basketball lives, and they played with a lot of stars. And this just hasn't been the case. Not for the Nuggets. It wasn't the case for them. It wasn't really the case for the Mavs until Kyrie got there.
Right.
It was the case because Cat was there before Edwards got there. I think Edwards, if you look at the teams, Edwards probably went to the best. If you look at these 3 guys, Edwards went to the best situation. Cat was already there.
Oh, yeah.
And they got him Gobert. So who's in a pretty good case. I think that was Chet already? No, SGA came and then Chet came, right? Because I think SGA left in the Paul George trade.
No, SGA was there before. Yeah, no, and they drafted Chet.
Okay, so then SGA is in a pretty good situation because the front office is just doing so well. You know, they're drafting well and they're getting some good young players to play there. So they're none of them are in crappy situation now. I like the kid Lively. Lively's a rookie for Dallas, and he's been showing up for them. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how this goes down. If Luka continues to average 34 and 10 and like 9 on the rebounds, I mean, it's just gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard. He's gonna need to, I think for him to fall off, Ant's gonna have to come take over, give us like 40, just beat him down in the playoffs, shut him down. And I think people are going to give it to him. I think people want to give it to him anyway because of just his style of play, like we just said, and Atlanta, Georgia, which is the most important thing. Is Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah,
we're really keeping it a buck with ourselves here, right?
Yeah. I mean, and it's kind of, again, if he goes after wins the championship, it's kind of hard not to give him that face of the league. I know he's.
I think he'll be face. I don't know if he's best player though. Like I don't.
Oh no! I'm not saying best player.
I think he will definitely. Do you think the face should be best player? That's another thing. Maybe we should do another show on that. Do you think the face should be the best player? Because if you're, how are you the face of something and you're not the best player? How does that work?
Well, I feel like
you're just popular.
You get the belt, right? So if you win the championship, you get the belt.
Well, at least with the belt, you got to knock someone out. At least you got to go earn the belt.
Right. So now the belt's available, right? Since Jokic is out. So it's up to these 4 teams. One of these guys. What
if Ant, though, because let's go with the same example that you just gave. And what if Ant has the same last game that he had before? Like, what if Ant gives you like averages like 19, but they win a championship? Luka averages is 33, but they lose. Who's the better player?
Well, I guess then you're just going by series, right? So then series, then
I'm going to go more so by like, but me just by personally, and I try to be consistent throughout this, which is great that we do these shows and people can just come back and call and say, you're like, oh, yo, you said this one time. But I believe championships can separate great players from each other, but they are still
Right.
a team award. Charles Barkley was better than so many human beings. Karl Malone was better
Oh,
than so many human beings,
true. True.
and they did not win championships. And it's ridiculous if I was to look in any league and say, "Hey, well, you know, these guys, I would take one of these guys off these championship teams over Charles Barkley." Like, would you? I don't even know. And people would take Scottie Pippen over Charles Barkley or Karl Malone. I don't know. I don't think they would. I don't think they would. Guys got 6 championships, contributed on those
Mhm.
teams. I
Yeah.
don't know if people would take. I don't know if if there was no Michael Jordan, even with all the championships, do you think people would have ever considered Pippen the face of the league? I don't know if he would have ever got that. I don't think he would have ever got
No.
it. He would have had to go to somebody like who's just actually dominating out there, like I said, like your Karl Malones or your Charles Barkley's, those players that were just out there dominating. May not have had the team to get them over the hump like Michael did for
Right.
so long. Remember at Michael's career, he went through that for a long time. He was considered to be the best guy. He had a shoe, wasn't winning any chips. But at least what the difference between Mike is Mike's numbers, his points, he was averaging. He was doing better than what these numbers are here. But Ant's a young player. And I think Mike was still in college at this time, right? That's when they were going to college at 4 years.
Right. You're going to college for he went to college for 3 years, but again,
So
but
when did he come into the league? Was it like 21-ish? I have to look
yeah,
and see
yeah,
when Mike came into the league. Mike just being barely a baby in the league right now. You know, I had to look and see where Mike was 4 years into the league. Maybe we can make those comparisons. But here's the hoping for a great series and also ignoring all the noise if you're an Ant. Just going out there because he has way more respect for his opponents than I feel like a lot of the fans do. The
yeah,
fans act like he should just be just destroying these guys, and he always is humble and shows appreciation for the talent of the guys in front of him, and I appreciate that just as a fan. This is Just the Stats. Check us out: Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. See you next time. All right, buddy. Man, we went over an hour.